You are a European aristocrat in the late 1800s. You've never seen a television before. You've never seen a computer or an iPhone or anything else with these little moving images. But what you are about to see is going to blow your mind, and you'll never forget it. You're going to go see the work of a man named H.N. Gasper Robinson. You don't go to the theater or any kind of show like that. Instead, you're met at the road. He's carrying a torch, you're given a candle, and he leads you through a graveyard, over broken tombs and brambles, until you're completely disoriented. You have no idea where you are, and you're led into a chapel-like place. You sit down, and the lights go out. And then suddenly before you, images of ghosts and skeletons appear, ghastly things you've never seen before, and they seem to be coming towards you, and you leave that night thinking you've seen members of the afterlife. Whereas in fact, what you've seen is a simple magic lantern, an image projector. A sheet of gauze was in front of you, thin so that you couldn't see it in the dark. A man was in the back with a light source and some slides projected, giving the illusion that you were seeing ghosts. This is a very, very early example of magic and television. They both go sleight in hand together and have sort of grown up together through history. Early film would record things that were of interest. You didn't take very many videos back then, so they would do bike tricks. There's early film of card flourishes, things that people are still doing today. Magic tricks as well would be filmed in the vaudeville period. So at first, film starts out as this thing that nobody really understands. The general public is amazed by seeing it, and then eventually they get to this understanding where, okay, so what I'm seeing here is something somebody recorded over here and played back. So they sort of get that idea. But then magicians would start to manipulate the film, since people still didn't understand the post-production aspect. They didn't understand that it could be changed after it was taken. One of the most notable is Georges Méliès, who was very early. He did these great films as early as 1899, and then in 1902 he did his trip to the moon. You notice these old films, they would have a lot of people in them. You know, the shots that he did were mainly sort of looked like you were looking at a stage. They weren't many close-ups. Georges Méliès was more noted for doing magic tricks with his film and things like that. That's what he pioneered, and some people say that he basically came up with 80% of the film techniques that are used today. And you can see some similarities between what he did and what people are still doing now, with things disappearing and reappearing. Things were sort of presented like real magic tricks. When he makes a lady disappear, you know, he puts the newspaper underneath her seat and everything to show there's no trapdoors, just like if you were actually at a theater, what a magician would do. He's doing on film. So, and you can see that same basic effect of somebody disappearing in something like Star Wars. Another one of his, possibly the best short film title ever, The Untamable Whiskers, where his beards grow and shrink and stuff like that. You play it in reverse, and it looks a lot like something you may have seen in the movies today with Theoden King's transformation from The Two Towers, The Lord of the Rings. So eventually people start to catch on that there's something going on in between what they're seeing and what was actually recorded. And so now magicians today make a point to do everything in front of a live audience. They're still manipulating the film though in a little different way, because when it's through film you can very closely control the circumstances. You can decide who is going to be there, who you're performing for, and stuff like that. Even though it may seem like it's something like street magic, David Blaine completely changed how television magic works, because he took the emphasis off of the person on the stage who would pretty much do the tricks in these early television performances, and then there would be shots of the people in the crowd from time to time, whereas he puts the emphasis on the person that is seeing the magic and their reaction to it and their response. So today, magicians like David Blaine, Shiro Takayama, and Criss Angel don't manipulate the footage itself. Instead, they're sort of manipulating the circumstances, usually through plants, confederates, as we call them. So, for example, in this trick where Criss is having somebody pick a card, you can kind of tell who's going to pick the card because she's a bit nervous and she keeps a smile plastered on her face and stuff like that, so that way he could have the signed card. And you know that he's also not using any visual effects later when he makes the card go through the window, because if he was doing visual effects, the card would have appeared where it was supposed to and not down there where it had ended up appearing. So there was no trick photography, but there was a stage plant, so he's controlling the circumstances there. Television magic is always manipulated by the magician in major or subtle ways, but it is still the reason that magic is so popular today. And I'm quite sure that people keep watching magic and television, even though they can't tell the difference.